Good afternoon and welcome to Don't You Know I've Had a Stroke from South Wales, United Kingdom. Welcome to everybody around the world. If you are watching, please say hi and where you are from. We have a very special guest today and just happens to be my wife, who is my main caregiver, and I'll bring her on and then we can start. So, good afternoon, Judith.
Good afternoon, Michael.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I just say we're live on Facebook and YouTube, so please do not swear. Can you see the comments on the screen?
I think so, yeah. Say hi and where you're from, it says.
Oh, we've got our first person watching. It's Ken and Melissa in South Carolina, USA.
Hi, Ken and Melissa. How lovely. I bet it's warmer in South Carolina than it is here.
I don't know, we'll ask. Melissa, what's the weather like? My wife wants to know. Right, we'll start. Judith, could you tell me your story, please?
Only if you don't call me Judith anymore.
Okay, sorry, Jude.
My story. Okay, so I was born in Kingswinford in the West Midlands, which is in the middle of England. And I have a sister called Gill. And we moved about a little bit as children. And I quite enjoyed school. And then I left school and went to college to learn how to type and take shorthand so that I could get a job. And I worked in as a legal secretary for quite some years until I met you and had the children.
So a legal secretary in murders or something, no?
No, not usually. House sales, real estate in the States, it's called, isn't it?
So very busy
So
on
real
a Friday.
estate, probate, yeah, all sorts of different things, accident claims, that kind of thing, personal injury, a little bit of criminal and a little bit of family. But
So
yeah,
we have Lynn's just joined us from Pennsylvania, USA. We know a song about that, don't we?
We do, I think.
Don't sing.
Yes, we do.
I've heard
No,
you before.
I won't sing. That'll turn everyone off. Hi, Lynn.
So, how did you meet me? Tell
How
me
did
the
I meet
story.
you? Well, I was dragged along to a local operatic society by my sister to get out, meet people and have fun and that sort of thing. Well, I wasn't really the going on the stage type, so I would help backstage and do admin and that kind of thing. So one year you came along to audition for, what was it, Pirates of Penzance? And that's how I met you, and you kind of melded into our little group of friends, and things went on from there, didn't they?
So basically, you auditioned me.
I auditioned you for the part, yes.
Well, you were looking for a husband.
I guess, yes, I was really, yeah, I suppose. Looking for someone. Anyone. Aloha from Inglewood. Ah, that's Salud and Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope Tom's a bit better, Salute. Well, we are sending love and prayers, and believe me, I've got the right wife to send prayers. Oh, and good old Jerry's turned up from Austin,
Texas. Oh, lovely. I'd like to go to Austin, Texas, actually, to have a look.
Will you be going on your own because I can't fly?
There we go.
Right, so you auditioned me for a husband, and so what happened after that? Did we get married?
We did eventually. I think we met. I was trying to figure out when it was, and I think it must have been 1989. Does that sound about right to you? And then we were married. Oh, look at that! We were married in 1994, and that's my sister in the dark pink dress, and I'm in the light pink dress. And you look very handsome in your frock coat and your top
Cane,
hat.
don't forget the cane.
And your cane, yeah. Yeah, it was a lovely, enjoyable wedding. And we had fun, didn't we, that day? It was a good fun day.
It was.
Yeah, nice bright day as well for April. Because my sister got married in April some years later, and it snowed, didn't it? Do you remember?
I do, yeah.
So yeah, we got. Sorry.
Jerry says you may have to take a boat.
Well, he could cruise across the Atlantic, couldn't he? It'd take him about a week, I think, and get to New York, and then he could get on a train or something. Yeah, or go down to, I suppose, down to the Gulf of Mexico and go to Texas that way.
Right.
That'd be nice.
So that's the wedding. What happened then?
What happened? Well, we got married, and then I got pregnant fairly quickly, and you went off to Glasgow to work, didn't you? Left me behind.
I left a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
To move to another country.
Yeah, yeah. So you went off, and by the time Alice was due, which was our first child, Alice, you came back for the paternity leave, and we had Alice, and then it all happened really, really quickly because this is Alice here. When she graduated, look how thin you were, Mike. Look how thin. Yeah, you lost so much weight when you were ill, so much weight. So we had Alice, and then all of a sudden you were moving jobs, and instead of going up to Scotland, we went to the northwest of England into Chester, which was lovely because we met some wonderful people up there and had such a lovely time. We met Debbie and Ian up there, and lots of other people. So it was a really a good time, wasn't it? But we weren't there too long before you changed your job again, and we went back to the Midlands, and then we went back up to the northwest again, and we thought we were going to stay there, didn't we? And by this time we'd got Nathaniel, who came along in 1998. See, he's 22 now, and then we thought we were settled where we were living in Pensby in the northwest of England, and then we just had Neil in 2002, and you came home and said, "Oh, that's a nice picture, isn't it? That was 10 years ago. Can you believe that? That was 10 years ago at my 50th birthday party."
What? Does that mean you're 60 now?
I'm 60 on Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, that's terrible, isn't it? So, yes, you came home and said, "I think I'd like to try out for the new IKEA store that's opening in Cardiff." And I said, "Oh, I've never been to South Wales. That might be nice." I said, "Well, give it a go, and if it's meant to be, you'll get the job, and that'll be it." So, and you did. So you got the job, and off we toddled down to South Wales, and we came to Llantwit Major, and we haven't moved. We've stayed here. This is the longest we've been anywhere, and it's a lovely place to live because the people are lovely, and it's by the sea, and it's by the countryside. Even if it does rain a lot in Wales, it's a lovely place to be. So yeah, we were here. We've been here for ages. All through the kids have had all their schooling here, so that's been good, consistent for them. And then, of course, you had your stroke.
Can we go back? You
Yeah.
mentioned Neil. And do you want
Who?
to tell a little story about Neil?
I don't know. I haven't asked his permission. Neil's the baby. He was 20 last month, so he's the youngest. And after we'd had Nathaniel, Mike kept saying he wanted another child, and I kept saying I don't really want to be pregnant again at my age. And so we discussed if we could foster, and we applied, and they started us with the training and that sort of thing. And then they asked us if we'd like to adopt. So we said, "Oh, yes, okay, we'll do that then." And that's how Neil came into our home. And he's a lovely son, and he's our youngest. So, so where does that leave us? Oh yeah, we're here. And so, what do you want to talk about next?
That faithful day at the seaside.
At the seaside, yes, we'd. It was the summertime in 2016, and it was a nice summer, and the kids didn't want to go away. So Alice was still at university, so she was away anyway, but the boys didn't want to go anywhere. So I said, well, look, we'll have some days out. Hi, Bethan. So we'll have some days out. And we decided to go to Penarth, which is just down the road from here, down the coast, and it's a nice seasidey town near to Cardiff. So we went there and we had a little wander round, and we went on the pier and sat in the sun, and then we had some lunch and we wandered around a bit more, had a look in some little shops, and then it was time to go home. It was sort of about 3ish, something like that, 3:30, and we decided we'd had enough and we'd go home. So we started to walk back, and it's on the flats, the front, and where the pier is and everything, but then the one end of Penarth goes up a hill, and we'd parked up there. So we were carrying on walking towards the car, and you had to stop so many times because you were out of breath. I was thinking, blimey, he's really out of condition. He's not doing any exercise. He needs to do a bit more exercise and get fit. So and I didn't really think anything else about that. And then a couple of days later, you'd got what you thought was heartburn. And after a couple of days, you'd still got it and you were moaning like mad. And I said, look, have you got any more symptoms? And you said, what do you mean? I said, well, have you got any pain in your neck or your shoulders or your back? Is there any pins and needles anywhere, anything like that? And he goes, you're going, no, it's just heartburn. It's just heartburn. And I said, okay, if you've still got it in the morning, you're going to the doctor's. And Alice heard me say that to you. So she said, I'll take him, Mum. I'll make sure you go to work and I'll take him to the doctor's. So that's what happened. And I was in the kitchen at work and the phone rang, and it was Alice to say, Mum, you have to come because they've called an ambulance. They're going to take Dad to hospital. They think he's had a heart attack. So off I went to Cardiff and met you there. And by the time we were together again in Cardiff in the hospital, you'd had 2 stents fitted. Was it 2 first and then 1 more, or 1 and then 2? I can't remember.
Buy one get one free on the first day.
Oh yeah, okay. Anyway, so they put your stents in, and they kept you in hospital for 10 days, and then they were letting you out, and the nurse, the sister, said she wasn't really keen on you going home, but the doctor had said it was fine. So she said to me, if he's got very low blood pressure, we can't bring the blood pressure up. It just seems normal for him. However, if he gets dizzy or if he falls, anything like that, don't hesitate, call an ambulance, and he can come back in. So I said, okay, fine. So then 3 days later, you spent quite a lot of time lying on the sofa, and Ollie came round. Ollie was a baby. You were introduced to Ollie. Alison had the baby. So she brought Ollie round to see you. And I've got a photo somewhere of you holding Ollie. And a couple of days later, I went off to get something from the shop. And when I came back, there was a message on my phone. I was in the car, and it was Nathaniel saying, "Mum, hurry up, Dad's fallen off the sofa and he can't get up." So I rushed into the house, and you're on the floor with a pillow under your head. Nat's looking after you, the dog's looking after you. And I was talking to you, and I said, "Can you try and move? Can you try and move yourself back towards the sofa, and we'll try and pick you up?" And you said, "I don't think I can do that." And you had to go, and you couldn't. And I said, "Right, I'm phoning an ambulance." And I phoned the ambulance, and they came, and they took you to the hospital, a different hospital, one a bit closer. And I met you there. Well, I met the ER man, the doctor there, and he said, "I'm very sorry to tell you that your husband's had a stroke." And that's all you said for the first hour was, "I've had a stroke. I've had a stroke. I've had a stroke."
That's all I've said ever since.
And you just kept saying that. And they gave you a cup of tea to test your swallowing and that sort of thing. But obviously it was your left side that was affected, so you hadn't lost your speech, but it was, your thought process was clearly quite muddled and slow. And
did you know at the time I was having a stroke?
no,
You know,
automatically, no, because there was nothing in your face to suggest that you'd had a stroke. You were speaking and you were moving, but obviously you couldn't move very well. But because there was no obvious sign in your face, it never occurred to me. And also because the nurse had said to me, "He's got very low blood pressure, he might get dizzy and fall over, and if he does, phone the ambulance." And so that was foremost in my mind, that that's what it was. But of course it wasn't. And so your stroke was the direct result of your heart attack. So that was that. And then you were in Bridgend for 5.5 months, and that was up and down. You know, you were very, very low at times, and of course you had your diabetes wasn't under control. You had psoriasis very badly, well, quite badly, and they were working very hard to get your blood sugar level right and your diabetes right, your psoriasis right. And then on top of all that, you developed sepsis. And, you know, you had been getting slowly better, and you'd started to move your toes on your left side. That was the first thing, was a couple of little tiny movements in your toe after a couple of weeks. And that's what we worked on. And gradually they got your left leg working a little bit. And the physios were brilliant there, weren't they? So that was ongoing, but then the sepsis came along and knocked you for 6. And you were very ill, you're very sick. And that's probably why you lost so much weight, because you were just so poorly. And in fact, the doctor did phone me one day and said, don't do anything except come to the hospital. You know, don't go to work, don't do anything else. You need to take a break from that. Just come in. And, you know.
And what did you think he meant by that? That I was going to pop my clogs?
No, not really. I never really thought you were until that afternoon when I went in, and my friend came with me, Claire, who's a nurse, came with me, and we sat, and the kids were there, and we sat and listened to the doctor, who said, actually, we can't do much for him anymore because we've exhausted all the antibiotics. We're on the domestos version of antibiotics now, and if that doesn't work, well, something else.
For our American cousins, domestos is what?
Bleach. The strongest cleaning stuff that you can buy off the shelves, basically. So it was just his analogy, wasn't it?
They didn't inject me with bleach.
No, they didn't. That was his analogy of the kind of the strength of antibiotics that you were having was very strong. So yeah, so that was that. But you did begin to, you were holding off the infection. You weren't getting better for about a week. You were holding it off, and then you began to get better very slowly. But there was a lot of sickness and dizziness, and it wasn't good at all. So that was that really, and we just worked through.
I can remember one day we called it the torture chamber, but it was the physical therapy room, and I stood for the first time and hugged you, and everybody cried.
And we all cried, yeah. That was quite moving. There's been moments like that through all of this, really, where things have happened that have been monumental, really, like that day, like you coming home and there not being any care in place or anything like that. That was pretty amazing. And all through this we've hit little hurdles. Like for me, I was coming towards the end of my theological course for training to be a priest, and there was no way I was going to give that up. But I did take a they let me hand in my one module essays late because I just needed some extra time, really. So that was good. And then that was after my first communion, I think, wasn't it? That was my first communion as a priest.
You managed to cope with learning to be a priest and having a husband who was dying in hospital?
Well, I never really believed that you would die because you're a stubborn what's it, and and I just didn't really think that you would. I guess if you had done it, it would have been a bit of a shock, to say the least, because I wasn't really prepared for that. I didn't think that was going to happen. You were having such good care in the hospital, and they were doing everything they possibly could to make sure you were okay. And I could see other people around you who, some of them were about the same level of being affected. Others were worse, and they were still around. And I thought, well, he's doing all right. And we just kept on, keeping on is what we were doing. We just kept on dragging you through the physio and the other things. And just kept on, really.
Bad with my mental health in hospital.
Yeah,
every day I was crying. Every time you left me, I was in tears.
Yeah.
Diamond Dave saved me. He made me find me again and gave me my first shave and haircut and bath.
Yeah. He was brilliant. And they were so lovely in the hospital towards us as a family. They were very good. I can't fault any of the staff there. They were just fantastic.
I think it was Sister Jo who ran the ward brilliantly.
Yeah, and still does.
Marina Ramos says, Mike, I had no idea you were stubborn.
He is so stubborn. Very, very stubborn. Yeah. But there we go.
So then they bring me home, and
Yeah.
how did you feel about that?
Well, it was a bit daunting to say the least, because you were, again, you don't listen. So the first day we're home, listen to this now. The first day I had to go and get some supplies from the shop, and I say, stay in the bed, don't get out. So what happens? He gets out of the bed and falls over. And so it took us 40 minutes to get him up. 40 minutes to get him up. And that frightened him, didn't it? Frightened you really, that?
Mm.
And I said, I can't cope with this. If you're going to not do as you're told, you'll end up somewhere else, because I'm not doing this. It's too stressful. And you'll end up back in hospital, because if you fall badly, you'll break something and you'll be in hospital again. So you were upset about that, but there we go. And then, of course, we had other moments where you didn't do as you were told. Like, we eventually, I was struggling holding down the job and the, my new role as a deacon at the time, and trying to help you and the kids and whatnot. So eventually I thought, I'm going to stop work for 6 months and see where we are after 6 months. So yeah, he is a plonker. You're absolutely right, John. He's a A1 plonker. So I stopped work for 6 months, but then I soon realised that actually I couldn't really cope with going back to work at the time. You're right, Marina. What man does listen? They all think they know best, don't they? So I eventually gave up work after 2 years of wondering what to do. I did give up work in 2018, and we've managed just about, but we had to sell the house. We couldn't afford to pay the mortgage, so we lost the house, and that was, for me, that was very upsetting, because you work all your life to put something in place for when you retire, and then suddenly it's gone, and I felt like all my choices were being taken away from me, and it was nothing to do with me. It just happened that I was married to this bloke who decided to have a heart attack and a stroke. So from my own point of view, I was I didn't like having all those choices removed from me. Oh no, that was Christmas, wasn't it?
The Lantern Parade.
The Lantern Parade at Christmas, and you made that yourself. And I let you out with it. So you're in your scooter, courtesy of Byron and Liz, who lent you that scooter. And we wrapped you up very warm, and we went on the Lantern Parade. And there's Trish in the picture as well from church. So, and all those people behind us are watching other people playing music and that sort of thing, because it's really good, and we'll miss that this time, won't we?
Unfortunately, we're in the middle of a global
pandemic. Yes. So usually in Llantwit, there's various things that happen throughout the year. There's a Victorian fair or a summer fair in the summer, and then in the winter there is a a lantern parade where people make lanterns in a theme, and we parade around the town with our lanterns on a dark night. And that's at the stroke support group when we were playing. That was at the party, and we were playing a game with how to throw the rings onto the antlers. Somebody obviously did that well. So yeah, so we do have some good things here in Llantwit that we enjoy. Yeah, we've got a really good family, and we've got extended family really here, because the ladies here that I meet online now, but I used to meet in person and in a house group and in a church group. Those ladies are like my mums, you know, they're like my mothers. You know, when Jesus says, "Who are my brothers and my mothers?" That's the kind of thing he means, that, you know, people become so close that they are like your family. And that's what it's been here, really. I have a serious question. Did you ever think you would walk away? My wife thought about it, but found the idea too upsetting. Yes, occasionally, and sometimes I still do, if I'm to be honest. But you know, you take your vows for better, for worse, and
Never been rich though.
no, but I didn't. I didn't mention that vow. Because if it was up to that vow, I'd have gone a long time ago. I don't know.
I
So,
think one of the big
John,
things.
in answer to John's question, yes, I did think about it, and you know, I have occasionally thought about it. Yeah, yeah.
But also I did was I wanted you to do what?
I don't know. Did you
Put
want me
me
to
in
do?
a home.
Oh well, I couldn't have done that. You don't need to be in a home just yet.
I just felt like a burden, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah, you did. But that's you're not. You're not. You're just different now.
I think the good thing is a sense of humour. You've always liked my sense of humour, even before my stroke.
I did like it better before your stroke. It's a bit random now.
What do you say? I have no filters now.
Well, no, you don't really, which is a bit embarrassing. But you didn't before, but it used to be only if you'd had a couple of drinks where you didn't have a filter before. So what else would you like to know?
I'm going to bring up some pictures and I want you to tell me the story behind them, please.
Okay. Oh my goodness. This is at Barry Bados. This is at Barry, which is where the town where Gavin and Stacey is filmed in part. And it's just up the road from us. And it's a lovely seaside town. So they've got these beach wheelchairs so that disabled people can go onto the beach, which is great. But you can't see in the background, there's these huge ramps. Where those people are sitting to the right in the background, that's the beginning of a ramp, but it goes quite steep up to the top where the brollies are. And whilst it's quite relatively easy to get down onto the beach, it's flipping hard to get back up again. So Mike is quite heavy now, and the wheelchairs are heavy, and I just physically could not take Mike back up the ramp. So this little lady said to me, "Would you like some help?" And I was thinking, well, two of us might manage it, but she wasn't talking about herself. She called her husband over, and he was a big strapping bloke, and he managed to push Mike up the ramp, but he struggled. It's quite hard, actually. But at least it allowed you to be on the beach with your dog, didn't it?
I just love the beach. I
Yeah,
think you're talking about me, not you.
yeah, I know. In the picture when he's on the beach, you mean, don't you, Beth?
I don't know whether I was smiling.
Yep,
Oh,
there
I
you go.
was.
Grinning. Absolutely right. So what's the next picture then? Now that is obviously before you had your stroke, because you're standing up straight. And I can't think of the time that was. Do you know what time it was?
It was around Valentine's Day.
Was it? Because there's a big heart in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah, but was it the same year as you had your stroke, or was it before then?
I can't remember. I've had a stroke.
No, I can't remember either, and I haven't had a stroke.
This is one of my favourite pictures of you.
Oh yeah. Now, while I was training at college, there was a guy who took that at the dinner table, who took that photo of me, Hugh, and he's a priest down in Exeter way somewhere down in the south of England. Very talented with his photographs, as you can see. He did a good job there. But that was when my hair was a bit longer. I decided to grow it a little bit.
I think the colour's changed now as well.
And the colour's changed, yeah.
But you're just growing old gracefully, aren't you?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that was in Cardiff when we went to Alice's graduation, and we that was outside afterwards.
So let's talk about Alice.
Alice, bless her.
Where is she?
She's in New Zealand. She's been there over 2 years now, and she lives in a house in Queenstown on the South Island with her lovely friends. Oh, that's nice of you, Lynn. Thank you. She she decided to go travelling after she graduated, so off she went. She went to Thailand for a couple of weeks and then went over to New Zealand and worked her way down the North Island and then to the South Island. And she works in a Spates ale house in Queenstown. And she's got some fantastic friends, some lovely people there. Josh, her boyfriend, and her lovely friend Sammy. And actually, Sammy's back in Britain now, but some lovely friends.
And you were lucky enough to go over there, leaving your husband who'd had a stroke behind.
Yeah. Well, my lovely dad, said to me, "Now sit down. I want you to know that you can go and see Alice. I'm going to give you the money, and you can go and see Alice, because I know you haven't seen her for some time." So I was overjoyed that my dad was able to do that for me, and so I went, ditched my family for a couple of weeks, and went over to New Zealand, which was awesome. It was so lovely. Alice had organised various things for us to do. We had a little road trip. And it was just so nice to be able to spend some time with her and just see what a lovely place she lives in. And I never thought I'd get to New Zealand. It's one of those places that you think, oh, I'd love to go there. Never thought I'd actually go, but it's just a gorgeous place. And it was just so nice to spend time with her and meet such lovely people and such generous people. One of Alice's friends, Cherie, invited me to stay in her holiday home there that she lets out. And, that was incredibly generous. And she was a lovely lady. And we had a couple of nights out that were really nice. And I met some lovely, lovely people there. It was great. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Can I just say as well, Marina, we are in South Wales, near Cardiff, in Wales.
In the UK. So we're on the South Wales coast, somewhere between Cardiff and Swansea. So they're the big places on the map. And our town is called Llantwit Major, or Llantwit in Welsh. And it's a lovely ancient place, which has got tons of character and is very spiritual.
And can I just mention, you care for your father as well?
My dad, yeah, I do. I've been to see him this afternoon. My dad after my mum had died in 2003, I think, or two, one or the other. I spoke to my dad couple of years afterwards and said, you know, if anything happens to you, Dad, I'm a long way from you to come back and look after you, and I work, and it's just very difficult. I'd like you to think about coming to live in Llantwit. And he said, oh, no, I'm fine here. And I said, oh, well, Dad, I'd just like you to think about it, please. And he said, all right, I'll give it some thought. And about 10 minutes later, he said, I've had a think. And I've decided you're right. I'll come and live in Llantwit. So within 6 months, he'd sold the house and moved here. And he's across the park from us. So it's about a 10-minute walk to Dad's, or a 3-minute drive in the car. And or a 5-minute ride on my bike. So it's lovely to have him there, because it means I can keep an eye on him. He's quite doddery now. He looks his age. You know, he's 86, and he is quite old. Marina's got relatives in Germany, so that's interesting, isn't it? That's lovely. Have we been to Germany? We haven't been to Germany, have we?
No, been to France.
France, Belgium, been through Luxembourg, Italy. We haven't been to Germany. We'll have to rectify that. Who's that? No, I'm not on that picture.
No, that's Kerry.
You're the one in the blue.
I am, yeah.
And Kerry. And who's the other guy?
Harry is my sister.
Harry. Flipping heck. That's Harry. Oh, well. There we are.
Kids were embarrassed, weren't they? Coming to see me.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, the kids don't like you dressing up like that. It's hysterical, really. It's very funny. But you can take the picture down now.
I was quite famous in Llantwit.
Infamous, I'd say. Yeah.
And can I ask a silly question? Obviously, you're a priest. Is faith very important to you?
Yes, Michael, it is. It's very important. It's not just something that you do on a Sunday. Contrary to popular belief, priests don't just work on Sundays. Now, I'm in the very fortunate position of not being full-time, because I've got lots of other stuff going on. So I'm a self-supporting priest, which is okay, because you know, we are looked after in other ways. But what was I going to say? My mind's gone blank. Yes, I'm a self-supporting priest, and I work part-time. So I've just moved to a new parish, which is in the next door village of Cowbridge and the surrounding villages there. And I'm just beginning to learn, you know, what's required of me there, and what role I can fulfill in that place. And I've got a couple of services on Sunday, and, you know, some services over Christmas, and I'll get involved with whatever I can there. But it's not just for Sundays, is what I was trying to say. It's a way of life, isn't it?
Is your busiest time of year?
What, Christmas?
Is your
Easter.
busiest time?
Easter.
Oh, Easter.
Mm.
Please tell me the story of a lady in lockdown who phoned you, please.
Oh, Alethea, little old dear, who phoned me and said, I'd done the funeral for her husband, who was in his 90s, I think, and he'd had a stroke, and she'd nursed him for 12 years until he passed away. And then, so I did the funeral, and I hadn't met her before. So I did the funeral and kept in touch with her, because she's on her own. She does have some care going in, because she's 90 now, and, you know, getting on. Oh, dog's going to bark. Do you want to talk a minute? Oh no, she's not going to bark. It's all right. I thought she was going to bark her head off. It's just some children going by. So she phoned me up and said she was feeling a bit low because it was a year since her husband had passed away, and it was her birthday, and she was going to be 90. And you know, we were all locked down. We couldn't really do much. We couldn't go into people's houses to visit, but we could go to the doorstep. And I said, "Have you had a cake?" And she said, "No, I haven't had a cake or anything." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to come and say hello." So I just made a lemon drizzle cake. So I cut a big piece of lemon drizzle and wrapped it up, and got on my bike and went over to see Alethea. And I put the bag on the door handle and went to the end of the path, back to the end of the path, so to keep my social distance. And she came to the door, and I sang happy birthday to her, and we had a little chat. And she had the cake, and I gave her a blessing, and she was it made her day, I think, because I was, you know, the visitor today. That I was the visitor for her 90th birthday. So that was a nice thing to be able to do. And you know, we have visited our people over all of this time this year, but we've had to be careful. You know, some of us have got people who are vulnerable at home, like I've got you and my dad. So we've had to be quite careful about how we've kept in touch with our congregations, our communities. So yeah, but you just got to keep going and try and give what you can to the people who need some company, who need a prayer, who need to know someone cares about them, you know.
So that was Marina saying it's wonderful how many friendships we meet and have through these stroke groups.
Yeah. I was on my laptop yesterday, and I was listening to, you know, you were on a group last night. Was it last night or the night before? And there was a lot of laughter and you know, banter. And I did think to myself at the time, this is really a lovely group of people who you've, you know, become part of that community. And it's great that you've got something for you, you know.
And I interviewed Paul Cummings, didn't I? So, and he was very funny. I just have the thoughts of him running naked through the hospital.
I don't think he was quite naked, was he? He did have a gown on. But yes, your ministry is all over now. Look how many Mike and you can reach with this journey. Testimonies of a faith and God's blessing heaven. Yes, it's funny, isn't it, that throughout this this year, our way of reaching people has changed, because, you know, we would expect people to come through the door at church, and of course they can't do that, or they can a little bit now, but you know, they haven't been able to. And we've set up like streaming services, and you know, similar to this thing here, this StreamYard program, and on Facebook's been brilliant, because our congregations are of that age range that use Facebook. You know, they're not into TikTok or whatever. Facebook is very much their chosen medium, if you like. So there's a lot of people that we've managed to reach online who would perhaps not have ever come to church, who have a faith of some sort, but couldn't find it in, you know, they're not comfortable coming into an organised religion, if you like, or into a church. And so it's been really good that we can reach people like that.
We're coming to the end now, but Jude, You want to say hello to anybody?
Well, I'd like to just say to all of my groups who have been there since the very beginning, since we moved here, you know, Faith and Fellowship, which is a lovely group, has been there throughout all my time here. It's a great sense. It's a great support to me. You know, and all those ladies are very dear friends. I love them dearly. So thank you to them for putting up with me.
And I loved it when they brought food round.
Well, yes, yeah, yeah. You do like your food, don't you?
Well,
So
Jude,
that's it,
we're
really.
going to come to the end. I'm not
Okay.
sure whether you want to just say a little prayer for us, please.
Oh, that's a curved ball, Mike. Who'd have thought? Okay. Okay. So if you're still yourself, take a moment. You can close your eyes if you like. And I would say, dear Lord, we thank you for this community online. We thank you for all that we are and all that we can be. We ask for your blessing on one another this time and always. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
That was a
Thank
short
you,
enough
Jude.
one.
I know you're very busy. But thank you very much.
This is one of the, I'm going to tell everybody now what's happened today. This afternoon, I'd been out. It was a horrible day outside, rain, mud everywhere. So I get home, I sweep, put the hoover around, steam mop all the downstairs, the kitchen, this lounge, the little hallway out the back. Mike comes back from his trials and tribulations out with his scooter, and he rides the scooter and all the mud all the way through the lounge into the kitchen. So there's tyre marks everywhere. So then I had to clean it up again. There we go. Story of my life.
So Melissa's a lovely message. What joy she is, Mike. I see why you are so proud of her. Thank you, Jude, for this show.
Thank you, Melissa. That's very kind of you.
Right. I think it's about time you made my tea.
Yeah, I could do with a cuppa now.
All
Lovely
right.
to see you. Lovely to see you, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jude.
Okay. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Well, thank you all for watching. And I'd just like to say, on the 18th of December, on the Friday, I'm doing a Christmas show. So my guests will all be singing or pre-recorded some classics, and I will be doing one as well. So please join me and take care, stay safe, love you all. Bye.